Yes, it's that time of the year again. Football season. When a team that doesn't even know exists gets to determine our mood for the next 4 or 5 months. Can't wait. Honestly, I can't wait because I feel like my team, the Miami Dolphins, have a really good chance of making the Super Bowl this year. This is probably the most talented team we've had since Jimmy Johnson. I really feel like we have a chance to make the Super Bowl. However, there are a few things that we need to do better than what we did last year in order to make the Super Bowl. Last year was great. We did a lot of good things. Our passing game was one of the best. Our offense in general was one of the best. Tua proved that he can be a top 10, top 5 quarterback. We can build our entire offense around someone that is a franchise quarterback. I believe he proved that. Yes, his health is a concern for sure, but his talent is not. Tua has proved that he can play in the NFL, that he can succeed in the NFL, that he could be the trigger man for an elite offense. Basically, Drew Brees, a left-handed Drew Brees, which is what we all thought he was going to be anyway. And things that Miami could have done better last year that they need to do this year. 4 things in particular. One of which is not something that's in their control, but it remains important to talk about. With that being said, this video is basically going to talk about the 4 things Miami needs to do to, get to the Super Bowl and hopefully win the Super Bowl. And again, I'm not an NFL coach. I understand that. This is just from a longtime fan's perspective from watching the team. I watched every Dolphins game. I did not miss a single one. So, these are just my observations, what I saw last year, what needed to improve, and what we need to do to, hopefully get to that promised land and finally win it. Because, it's been a while. It's been a long time. But first things first. First thing we need to do is diversify our passing game. Our bread and butter last year was passing down the field, in the middle of the field, 15, 20 yards down the field. Here, I'll even show you what I'm talking about. I was on Twitter and I came across this heat map that Tyler DeSena posted. By the way, check out his stuff. He's phenomenal. He knows a lot of football. He knows what he's talking about. This particular tweet that I'm showing you, or this particular heat map, the tweet that was the tweet that led to this heat map explains it beautifully. But basically, as you can see, Tua was very effective in throwing the ball, or I shouldn't say, this is really just, the routes that they ran. A lot of the routes were 15, 20 yard and breaking routes towards the middle, whether it were posts, just flat out in breakers, crossing routes. A lot of it was, 15, 20 yards down the field, which is great. However, the problem was we kept doing it. We kept spamming it because we kept getting so efficient with it that Mike McDaniel was like, ooh, I'm going to just keep spamming it. It's like when you keep spamming a move over and over again, if you've ever played a video game, eventually you're going to get countered. You're going to get caught, and bad things are going to happen. And bad things that happen on that West Coast trip. Because basically what happened is by the time we went to San Francisco and, LA, they had essentially figured us out. San Fran didn't really execute their game plan as well as LA did, but the genesis of what they were trying to do was evident, and it was fully realized in that Chargers game. So basically what both teams did was that they pulled their linebackers back. They clogged up the middle. They basically conceded the flats. They're like, you want to throw outside? Go for it. We don't think you can. We don't think you're willing to. So we're going to concede the outside to you. And we're also going to press up on you. We're gonna stick to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle like glue to the best of our abilities, because those two dudes are incredible. But essentially, we're going to force you to throw outside. We don't think you can do it. We don't think you guys are going to try to do it. You're going to be very unsuccessful at it. And they were right. That Chargers game was probably the worst I've ever seen Tua. Hell, even the San Francisco game, he was off. And it was more so him being inaccurate than San Francisco. But even so, I think a lot of it was just him being like, oh, this window used to be open. Now there's a dude there, and I have to, be more precise than, what I've been the majority of this year. And I'm sure, he got spooked more so than, more so than usual in the San Francisco game. But in the LA Chargers game, there was no question. He was definitely rattled, especially with the game plan that they had. What needs to happen is there needs to be more pass patterns going to those outside areas. It's not a matter of whether Tua can do it or not. I do believe he can do it. The problem is that we didn't do it enough. Yeah, the problem is we didn't throw the ball outside nearly enough. We didn't cause defenses to have to be like, oh, we have to play the outside flats. We have to play those out routes, those 5 to 10 out routes that a lot of teams have in their arsenal. Like, we didn't do that. Like, again, looking at the heat map, the route map, I should say. I don't know why I keep calling it a heat map. Like, a lot of our routes were in that 15 to 20 yard range in the middle, and little dump offs behind the line of scrimmage. So, which I think screens maybe, but essentially we didn't utilize the entirety of the field. Like, we struggled, or we didn't even try to get those easy passes in the middle, or those easy out routes, or those easy flats. And we need to do better with that. Because here's what's gonna happen. When teams realize we're able to throw the ball outside, that we're being successful throwing the ball outside, they're going to be forced to pull their linebackers back to those outside areas. And what that's going to do, that's going to give Tyreek and Waddle that space back that they lost in that San Francisco LA game, and allow them to catch the passes with space, and let them do their thing, which they were incredible at last year. It'll give Tua windows to throw to, which he didn't have in those two games. So yeah, we need to throw those flats. We need to throw those screens. We need to throw those out routes. We can't be afraid to be vanilla. We have to get that easy money. Like, I think it was Peyton Manning or somebody, like, they're talking about like how, when defenses gave you those 5, 6, 7 yard passing plays, you got to take them. You may not want to, but you have to take them. Because when you do, it forces defenses to, have to adjust. Tom Brady made a fucking career out of, those dump-offs, dinking and dunking his way to touchdowns. And it's very effective, as much as a lot of us hate it because it's, just you're not explosive. You're not, wow, it's not that wow play. It's very effective. And we failed to do that part of the game. We basically failed at the fundamentals of passing. Because we were doing all the exciting shit. We were doing all the down the field, pass patterns, which again worked for a vast majority of the year. But when defenses caught up, we suffered for it. We need to get back to basics. And when I looked at the games last year, in the beginning, we did have those out routes. We did have a lot of those pass patterns that hit the entire part of the field. It's just we got away from it, and we need to get back to it. We need to diversify. And I believe this is where someone like Devon Achane comes in. Achane was great at running the ball. He was great at pass catching. He's a do-it-all running back. And I believe he will provide the balance that we're seeking. If, nothing's open down the field with Tyreek and Waddle, well, hey, we have Achane coming out of the backfield. We can dump it off to him. Or, hey, he's running an in-breaking route in the middle. Again, we can dump it off to him, and not just A-Chain. We can use Braxton Berrios for that role. Like, we could do screens with him. He's very versatile. He's a man beater. So, like, if we're having problems with man coverage, we can use someone like Braxton Berrios to break that man coverage, come in on a crosser, catch that pass, and, gain a lot of yardage that way. We have options now this year, which I don't think we did last year. Last year, it was Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, or nothing. Now I believe this year we have, more guys that can catch the passes in those areas we were weak at, and, gain yardage in those areas. So I feel like if we're able to utilize A-Chain better than Detroit utilized Gibbs, I'm not mad as a fantasy owner, not at all. But if we're able to utilize them, and Braxton Berrios and River Craycraft, utilize them on those outbreaking routes, on the flats, screens, whatever, it'll go a long way to making our passing offense at least very difficult to guard. With that being said, here's the second point that I need to make regarding what we need to do. 2, we need to commit to the run. We have to commit to the run. We were not the worst team running, but we were pretty damn close. And I don't think it was because of our talent. I think we just didn't commit to it nearly enough. Like, we have Mostert's not a bad running back. Neither is Wilson. We just didn't commit to it. Like, those two, I think both of them had rushing yards per carry over 4.5, which is what you want from a running back. So I don't think it was them. I'll even read you out some stats. Like, we were 27th in rushing yards a game. We were 23rd in yards per attempt, and we were 31st in rushing attempts per game. Again, we did not commit to the run nearly. Like, running the ball was secondary to passing the ball. And again, I don't blame Mike McDaniel for doing it. When you get a weapon like Tyreek Hill, you probably want to use them. It's like getting a brand new PS5. You want to play it when you first get it. You want to do nothing but play it for for the first few weeks, for a few months, whatever the case may be. And eventually you get used to it, and you're like, okay, I got to do other things. That's basically what happened. You got Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle. You want to utilize those weapons. I get it. But we fail to have balance. And when you're able to commit to the run, you're able to get that balance. Defenses can't key in on the pass. The BS that San Fran and LA were doing, they were only able to do it because, one, we didn't throw to the outside, but two, we also didn't run the ball enough. And the funny thing is, there were times in that Chargers game where we were running the ball pretty effectively. And we have proven we could run the ball. Like, in the Cleveland game, we ran it very effectively. Granted, Cleveland's wasn't a great team last year. Still, we proved that we could run the ball. And even in that Chargers game, like, we were able to run the ball effectively for good stretches of that game. And I remember watching the game with my girlfriend, and we were like, why isn't he running the ball more? Because it's clear that they're, limiting Tua by taking away the middle. They're like, okay, if they're going to do that, and if they're going to keep those boxes light, then why don't we just run the ball? And I kept yelling at Mike to run the ball, man. But we didn't commit to it. We did not commit to it. And here's the thing. If we run the ball more, we'll have more balance. It'll be less pressure on Tua to make up those yardage in the passing game. Tua's not going to have to feel like he has to throw for almost 300 yards a game just to, make up the difference with the running game. Also, it'll give our defense more time to rest. And last year, our defenses were, and again, that's probably going to be one of my points that I'm going to talk about later in the video, but like, there were times where our defenses were out there for long stretches, too long. Like the Buffalo game, I think our offense only had the ball for 19 minutes, and the Bills' offense had it for 40 of those minutes, because we couldn't stop Josh Allen for one, but two, we also did not run the ball enough to, try to eat up clock. But I do feel like this preseason, I have seen more of a commitment to run the ball. Also, I have seen Miami try to throw more outside routes, more screens. So I'm glad that they are trying to fix those mistakes, or fix the things that they were weak at last year. But yeah, running the ball, especially in this preseason, where I think like for the first two games, you had like 165 yards rushing on average, which is great. I know Ahmed and Brooks were a big part of that. But I feel like if we are able to run the ball, we can give our offense balance. We can be even harder to defend on offense, and it'll give our defense rest so that they can, do their best. They'll be fresh when it comes to the third, fourth quarter. And with that, it's just, I feel like if we do that, we'll be fine. Number 3, and again, this is really out of our control. We have to have less injuries, man. Like, we can't get screwed by injuries again. Although, that doesn't seem like it's happening this year with Ramsey being out till December and Armstead. This dude, man. Like, I get it. He played through a lot last year. Like, he was still able to play 13 games. But, like in training camp, again, in those joint practices against the Texans, literally the first practice we have there, he gets his ankle rolled up on, and, like, he has to miss all the training camp. And now, come to find out, he has knee and back issues. I don't even think he practiced enough to have those knee and back issues. But, here we are. And now he's not going to play in week 1. And this might be a multiple week thing. But it's like, it's stuff like that. We have to have less injuries. We need better luck with injuries. Because besides, Tua's concussions, which were famously documented, and the media never misses a chance to, let the world know, hey, Miami can be a Super Bowl contender if Tua can stay healthy. Tua, our secondary is decimated. We basically had Hobbled X, Cater Kohu, and Javon Holland, which, by the way, thank God we had Cater Kohu. Because if we didn't, our defense probably would have been even worse. But yeah, our secondary was so depleted that like our defense, even though our pass rush is decent, like it didn't matter since we didn't have a secondary to cover anyone. Our running backs were able to get the opposing wide receivers and tight ends and running backs were able to get open pretty quickly, and that's why we couldn't get off the field. Like we got screwed over with injuries, not as much as some teams, but we definitely had our fair share. And I can even show you a graph to prove that particular point. Like this man games lost NFL graph essentially shows which team the team total games missed by players due to injury. And as you can see, Miami was on the upper half, like a little above average. We didn't lose as much as some teams like Tennessee, Denver, Arizona. But we definitely lost our fair share of players that could have played. And another interesting thing that this shows us is that the teams that did make it to the Super Bowl, or I think this is the two teams that eventually made it to the Super Bowl were two of the healthier teams. Kansas City and Philadelphia, they had the least amount of injuries. It's amazing what can happen in a season when injuries are limited. If you have less injuries, you're probably going to do better. You're probably going to meet your expectations. And it was hard for us to meet expectations when our quarterback missed, 5-6 games. And, I think Armstead missed a few games. Yeah, he missed like 4 games. We were missing 3 of our secondary members. Like we got hit hard with injuries in key positions, and it affected us because we probably could have won at least, 11 games. We probably would have beat the Jets in Minnesota if Tua was on the field, and Armstead as well. I truly believe that, and we would have had 11 wins, and we probably would have had a better seeding. And we probably wouldn't have had to face Buffalo. But with that being said, it's we need a little bit more luck. If we have better luck with injuries, we'll have a better record. Period. And it's just unfortunately this year it seems like more of the same. It's not something we can control, but it is a factor. And if we can have less of those injuries, we'll get to where we want to get to. Which leads me to my last point. And my last point is probably one of the most important, if not the most important. We got to improve our defense. If I have to see one more cover zero blitz, I'm going to lose my mind. And luckily, with hiring Vic Fangio, we're not going to see that anymore. We're going to be a more responsible defense. We'll actually play zone more often. We'll actually send 8 guys back to cover on third downs. It'll be a beautiful thing. It'll force defenses to hesitate, It's just, if we can have a zone-heavy defense that can generate pressure with 4 people, that'll be critical. That'll be the difference between us being a bottom-tier defense like we were last year to an elite defense. We won't be doing any more of those stupid blitzes that'll leave our cornerbacks exposed. I don't understand why, especially if our top cornerback X is hobbled. Why would you leave him exposed? Like, before this turns into a roasting session on Boyer, I'm gonna stop. Just we needed to be more responsible defensively, and we weren't. With the hiring of Vic Fangio, I feel like we will be. And again, here are the stats of our defense. We were 18th in yards allowed a game. We were 24th in points allowed a game. We were 27th in passing yards allowed a game. We were 4th in rushing yards allowed a game. And again, I believe that was just because teams didn't feel the need to run on us because they could pass on us very easily. 24th and third down conversions stopped. 10 interceptions the entire year. 10. That can't happen. If we can get to 15 interceptions, 17, that's 7 extra turnovers. You don't think our offense can convert on those? And because a lot of times Tua didn't have easy possessions. When he scored, he had to drive 75, 80 yards on the field. He had to drive 65, 70 yards on the field. Very rarely did he get possessions at the opposing on the opponent's side of the field, or like close to the goal line. He very rarely got those opportunities. And if we can present him with those opportunities, our offense will be even better. Like it goes hand in hand. Our offense needs to have more balance, and our defense needs to generate more turnovers to give our offense more chances. The more chances our offense gets, the more prolific it'll be, the better it'll be. Because as much as our defense needs to improve, and it does, our offense is what drives our success. And our defense, if they can generate those turnovers to make it easier on the offense, and then I feel like we can get to the Super Bowl and we can win. And we could even win the Super Bowl. But with those four things, I feel like if that happens, if we diversify our passing game, if we commit more to the run, if we have less injuries, and if we improve the defense, I feel like we can. I feel like we can win at least 12 or 13 games, win the division, and make it to the Super Bowl and win it. I feel like that is well within reach. And again, I pray that Tua stays healthy. I also hope that Mike McDaniel can make those adjustments quicker. And that would have been a fifth point if Mike McDaniel can make those adjustments. But again, he's a rookie coach. It takes time. Not every rookie coach wins in his first year. So I feel like Mike learned his lessons. I feel like he'll make those adjustments. We've already seen it in preseason where they're actually throwing the ball more to the outside. They're running the ball more. But it has to be a legitimate commitment. If you can legitimately do those things in the season, and again, Mike McDaniel is the guy who made his bones in the running game, so he wants to run the ball more. If we can do those things, if we can have less bad luck with the injuries, if our defense can generate more turnovers, more of a pass rush, then I feel like we can make the Super Bowl. We are that talented. We are that good. With that being said, I'm going to take off. That's pretty much all I wanted to say about about the season. Essentially, it's a little preview of what I can expect in the season if we want to make it to the Super Bowl. These are things that need to be done. And if we can do them, we'll make the Super Bowl. With that being said, I will see you guys later. I will probably make a Twitch stream about the Chargers game. It'll be a pre-analysis of the Dolphins Chargers game, and then I'll probably after the game happens on Sunday, I'll probably do a post analysis of the game, what went right, what went wrong, all that good stuff.